Welcome to the RJ's Trains 3000 subscriber special. Let me know that you can hear me okay. Hopefully you guys can. I've got my phone up in front of me that's doing the filming today, and then I have the computer screen in front of me that I'll be able to see all the comments on that. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. All right, and just want to say hello to Bernsey and Sid, the moderators for tonight. Thanks for tuning in, guys. North Penn Steam Productions, hello and thank you. What's up, Sterling? Thank you. Hope you're doing good. You're going to be hitting 3,000 soon anyways, too. All right, here's everybody coming in. Bob, hello, Bob. Special thank you to you. Bob just started his YouTube channel. He's made some great videos. Sam from Sam's O-Gauge Trains is editing them for him, so they're turning out great. I edited the first one, so I think that one's the best, but that's just me. So go check out Bob's channel. I think he's at about 50 subscribers, and he should be way more than that. One of the best collections and layouts I've ever seen. Hello, Christopher's Trains and Trucks, Trainman 1225. And thank you, Bernsey. I got a haircut Saturday just for this. Not really, but sorry, my backdrop is so boring. But I'm in my apartment here in Washington, D.C. I am going to be going back to the layout soon enough to film some videos and spend time with my family. But for right now, we're just going to have to make do. Hello, Crescent Senpai, Henry, Matt's Trains, and Trainman Dan. So for what I was figuring for tonight, because I can't run trains here, I figured we'd do some Q&A, and I've got a few new trains that I've picked up since August that I haven't shown off on Instagram or YouTube, really. And I've got a few of them next to me tonight, so I figured I'd show those off. Can't run them, but expect videos out on them in the near future. I'm going to go home and film some stuff. Hey, Chris, RBB Trains, thanks for stopping in. My goal was to hit 3,000 before you hit 10,000, and I made it by a week, so I'm proud of myself. Yeah, Sterling, I mean, no running session. I expect running sessions with you, even though you currently have Carpet Central Railroad going on in your house. Hey, Matt's Trains and Tractors, thanks for stopping in. But like for the people who just joined, I'm looking down at my computer screen, and then I've got my camera up here, so that's why I keep looking down at my computer screen. Hello, Romans West Coast Trains. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Thank you, Crescent. Yeah, Sterling. Carpet Central works for now. I think you need to get some Bachmann Easy Track. It will look nice with the Lionel Fast Track. And you can throw that out in your fine scale Canadian HO scale layout too. Bachmann Easy Track is the best looking HO scale track system out there. All right, so yeah, I do have a couple of posters. My entire apartment, all 400 square feet of it, are decked out with these Amtrak posters. So behind me, I have the Southwest Chief, and then the Empire Builder over yonder. It's kind of hard to point without actually looking at it, and then a Strasbourg sign. I also have the Auto Train, the Sunset Limited, the Adirondack, the Cardinal, and two other miscellaneous Amtrak posters. So really nice wall decorations, and I like to consider them modern art, so not too train-y. Thanks, John. Hey, Mike. Yep, I own. I wore this just for you today. Maddie C, thank you. Bob, try refreshing the page. Here, let me. Yeah. So I'll start showing off the trains. I'll start with the more boring stuff first, and then I'm sure I'll get some questions along the way, and we'll work our way up to the big pieces. So first up, we have. Oh, Owen, thank you. You did not have to do that. I should have turned that off, but thank you for the super chat. That really means a lot. Um, Next live stream, or put in the chat what train of mine you want to see run on my layout, and I'll make sure I'll do a video on it um, when I go home next time. And I'll make sure that'll be included in the next running session video. Thank you, Joe's Engine House. All right, so first up on the list of new trains, starting small, actually quite small. It is a Lionel 8,000 gallon tank car from around 2017. It is a Tidewater Tank Car, number 1367, and this is actually the tank car that one of the tank cars the Strasbourg Railroad owns and is used for their freight excursions. So real cool. Atlas O also made these with a custom run with public delivery track. I went with the Lionel one, and it's a great looking model. Hopefully, Lionel comes out with an 89, so we can run it alongside the 89, 90, and have a nice freight excursion alongside the passenger excursion. Crescent. Do I have any Marks trains? I have a Marks New York Central caboose, but I don't have any like a locomotive or anything. Hey Sid. Sid says, "Do I have $20 you can borrow?" Sid, you're getting a payday from me soon enough. I think you're good. Burnsy, boring stuff first, so we can. So we're starting with the Long Island Railroad stuff. Well, as of right now, Burnsy, to the YouTube world, you have more scale Long Island Railroad locomotives than I do. So who has the boring stuff? And Trainman 1225 1225. Yes, this is the one that the Strasbourg Railroad has, which is really cool. So I've also got the Nicholas Smith Strasbourg caboose. I've got a Central Vermont MTH Premier boxcar, which the Strasbourg Railroad has on order. So I'm starting a nice Strasbourg freight consist. I think the next one is going to be the flat car that's used for the Christmas tree train and getting some custom decals made up for it. Ravenhawk, being a Long Island Railroad fan is just the cross that I had, the albatross around my neck that I have to carry. Mike, I might have to ban you for the Metro North talk in this. You can't even compare the Metro North and the Long Island Railroad. Trainman 1225. So the Lionel one was made 4 or 5 years ago at this point. So I bought the last one that I could find on the internet, but the Atlas one is still available through public delivery track. It's like $5 more than what the Lionel one was, but I have a couple of friends who got the Atlas one and they love it. Maddie C, who's in the chat and watching, he got the Atlas one, so he could talk more about that. Well, we're tied now, Bernsey, and we'll get to that later on in the later on. Oh, and run the San Diego trolley in your next running video. You got it, man. That's a really easy one to film. My first trolley too. Trainman Dan, you know what I'm gonna say? Pennsylvania Railroad stinks. I gotta agree with you there. Pennsylvania Railroad, good for nothing but destroying the New York Central. in the world of Sterling, you said it best. Be a Penn Central fan. Mike, you need to go to the new Moynihan Train Hall. Much more it's much nicer than Grand Central was. Still not as nice as the original Penn Station, but Moynihan is really nice. Uh, so I tease people. I say that I don't like the Pennsylvania Railroad, but truth be told, I actually really do like the Pennsylvania Railroad. Um, of course, they own the Long Island Railroad for 60 something years. So all of the early diesels and all of the steam locomotives that really ran on Long Island were all Pennsylvania steam locomotives. So like the G5s, the K4s, L1s ran on the island, the Atlantics, the H10s, H9s, H6s. So I do have an appreciation for the Pensy. I also love GG1s, but the New York Central and Penn Central supersede that, and the Pennsylvania causing the demise of the Penn Central Railroad uh, really is what I like kidding people about. Bernsey, you knew that I was just like I teased everybody about hating the Pennsylvania. Um, yes, one of us. Conrail 8098, Amtrak derailed, and they have nothing better to do than to talk. Um, yeah, that was really tragic. The derailment out in Montana and literally the middle of nowhere. Um, but you also have to realize that Amtrak doesn't own the track out there, and of course, conclusions haven't been made yet by the NTSB about the causes of the accident. But more likely than not, it wasn't Amtrak's fault that crash, and it stinks that it just so happened to be an Amtrak train going through the troubled track area when the accident occurred. You know what? Thank you, Sterling. I never want to be like Bernsey. Yes, Bernsey does have a UP Challenger, and he also has a New York Central Hudson. Even I don't have a Hudson. What other engines? Yeah, a Hudson and a Challenger. It's all right, Sterling. I know that you actually did mean to send that the smiley face, and you're just covering up for it. All right. So the next engine that I'm going to talk about, I don't have in front of me. Um, but if you follow me on Instagram and you saw my story from this morning reminding you about this live stream, my next new engine is a Weaver Tennessean. The ten I'm gonna make a full video about this train. Hopefully by the end of the month that will be out. Right now it's currently with Sid. Hi Sid. Um, and he is installing Proto Sounds 3 in it. And just a real quick history: the Tennessean was Southern Railway number 1380, which was the only streamlined PS4 Pacific in Southern's roster. It was streamlined just a couple months before World War II started, and it ran the Tennessean route, which started in Washington, D.C., ran through to Chattanooga, and then on to Memphis. Um, Weaver made that in the late 90s, and only less than 250 of them were made. And so it's getting upgraded to Proto Sounds 3. It's got an amazing sound set. Can't thank Sid enough for all the work he's done on it. Just because it's been a real pain in the butt because brass engines are the worst to work on, as both him and I are finding out. And it's going to be my first and last brass engine because of that reason. And Sterling, you've got me laughing. So That's going to be a real awesome piece. Now, the steam locomotive itself only actually ran the route from Washington, D.C. to somewhere in Virginia. I want to say it was Lynchburg or Monroe. And then it switched over to the N&W, where it was pulled by a J. And then in Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia, it switched over to a E6 or PA Alcos down to Chattanooga and Memphis. My girlfriend Nicole, she's from the Chattanooga area, so real neat that the train started in DC, where I live and work now, and went all the way down to her hometown and then on to Memphis. So my model railroad is called the Long Island and Southern for a reason. It's because I enjoy the Southern Railroad. Yeah, Chris, you've certainly learned your lesson with the brass steam locomotives. Strasbourg. I'm gonna send Sid a load of brass PS3 upgrades. Bernsey, work on affording the trains that you already have wanted to have. You've already committed to buying. AM Slicks Trains, once again, another great channel. So if you're not subscribed to him, go check him out. He just hit 100 subscribers a month or so ago. He's getting back into the swing of uploading videos, so make sure to go check out his channel. All right. And to go along with the Tennessean, we've got 5 MTH Premier Southern rib-sided streamlined passenger cars. And there's 5 of them. You can promise me, I can promise you that. But I only own boxed 1 because they're a pain to take all of them out and put them back into the box. These are MTH circa 2007-ish. I found them on trains. Use code RBP for $10 off. But but I got a really great deal on these. I paid less than $200 for 5 MTH Premier passenger cars, which is a steal. They needed some super gluing, like on this car specifically. The Southern on top on both sides fell off, so I just had to real quick super glue those back on. But really not that big of a deal. And I didn't know this because they didn't include pictures close up of the observation car, but the back of the observation car actually has a marker for the Tennessean. So what are the odds of that? That was a pretty great coincidence there. And yeah, I'm on the lookout for a couple more passenger cars, maybe an RPO or a 2-pack, like with a baggage car and another coach car. But the real life Tennessean only had 7 or 8 passenger cars, so not that big of a deal. I have a 12x8 layout, so 5 passenger cars is more than enough. And the one good thing about the Tennessean was that it was pulled by the Norfolk and Western J's, so I can get a NWJ, 611 and have it pull these Southern passenger cars, and it's completely accurate. I don't have to shell out the extra $500-600 for NW passenger cars. Very nice cars. Just catching up on the comments here now. Yeah, seeing Chris's .060T pull 30 freight cars, not even broken in, that was amazing. The Tennessean is my favorite. Your is hold on, I gotta read this. Tennessean is your favorite train of mine, which is funny because I haven't even seen it in person yet. So hopefully soon. Sid's just got a couple more things to touch up on it, wiring the marker lights and whatnot. Uh, no rush because obviously I'm here. The closest layout where I can run trains on is Sid's layout. So no rush for him to get it to me. He's busy with school. Yeah, Atlas does need to drop some Amtrak. Not immediately because of all the other things I have on order, but I have a feeling that Atlas is holding off because they're trying to upgrade the tooling so it looks a little better. The MTH tooling hasn't been touched since they first made it back in like 2004, I want to say, or maybe even before that. So Atlas is adding some more details to it. And if that's the case, then let them take their time. They didn't buy the tooling not to ever make it again. They're going to make the P42s again to make their money back from buying the tooling. So it's coming, and I'm fine with them taking their time. I'm going to end up purchasing one, so might as well space it out a little bit more. Thank you, Joker Strains. The new MTH flat car with the trailers. Yeah, the trailers with the flat cars, the pup trailers, really nice cars. Chris, I'm planning on bringing it to York, so it's the Tennessean is definitely going to be touching the rails of your layout um, sometime soon. That was the goal for Sid, was to have it done by York, so I could bring it and show it off to everybody. Oh, no need to apologize for being late, UP 3982. Um, haven't really done much. I'm not running any trains. Just here talking with you guys, answering some questions. Bob's Gates trains only one P42. I When Atlas re-releases them, it depends on what paint schemes and which ones they do. I definitely want a normal Phase 5 Amtrak P42, just because um, I don't have one. I have the Honoring Veterans and the Phase 4 Heritage unit, but I want a regular Phase 5 and 100, the Midnight Blue 50th Anniversary Heritage unit. So I would order two P42s. Did anyone here order one of the new Lionel Acela sets? I would get one, but I don't have the space or the money. I ordered one. I don't have the space or the money, but I being in DC and being from New York, I've taken the Acela close to a dozen times. I'm taking it later this week, actually. So it's a train that's near and dear to my heart. I've ridden on it so many times that I couldn't pass up the opportunity, because that's the last time Lionel is ever going to make it. And I didn't want to be stuck without one in 40, 50 years from now. Hey, West Chicago Model Railroad, thanks for stopping in. And Sid, I just want to be the star that night with my train. Hope that I can be a star. Frank, are you having a hard time to get parts back there? If you're referring to parts for like working on the Tennessean, so what I did is I purchased a Rugged Rails MTH 280 Proto 3 for like $180 on eBay, and it has everything you need. It has the steam board, it has the speakers, it has the smoke unit, it has the LED headlight, and that all, just buying the locomotive and taking everything useful out of it is a better bang for your buck than ordering each part separately from MTH. And MTH is having a real hard time with boards. So is Lionel. So is all the car manufacturers. The microchips in these electrical units are really hard to come by. Thank you, Sid. Every day I strive to be a star. Maddie C, what are you hoping to find at York? What's at the top of your list? Um, Well, the thing that was on the top of my list forever and always is sitting behind me, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But I hope to find maybe a Long Island Railroad number 39 or a 35, a Long Island Railroad H10. Um, but recently I picked up a couple of auto racks from a buddy of JD Stuck's, and I've got a couple of the Atlas auto racks on pre-order. So I think a more realistic item to find is I want a couple of scale Norfolk Southern diesels, maybe an SD70 Ace or an ES44 or Dash 9 or something along those lines, and a Heritage unit or just two Blaine Norfolk Southern units. I think that'd be nice, pulling a nice long auto rack train. Polar Express. I've actually been debating on the Polar Express, and I'll let you guys settle it in the comments. Lionel's going to end up releasing the Legacy Burke again sometime soon. Maybe it might be the next catalog. It might be 3 catalogs from now, but who knows? Do I go with the Legacy Polar Express Burke or the Ready to Run set? My rationale is that I'd want a normal Berkshire, like a 1225 or a 765 or an RF&P Burke, and this way I'm not buying two Legacy steam locomotives. For York, I'm looking for the Pet Shop Express shampoo car. Chris, make sure you get that. We'll have shakedown some hobby shops that promised it to you, and so they never do that again because you can't mess with RBB trains. You know. Look for a Long Island Railroad MTH operating dump car. Not all that realistic, which is why I'm not going for it. I have a ton of non-realistic Long Island Railroad freight cars, and I love all of them, but I've got about a dozen of them at this point, and I don't need any more of those. I'm able to have a nice long train of them, especially for my small layout. I also don't have any operating track sections on my layout, so Legacy Berg. See, but I'm going to get another Legacy Burke. It's not like if I don't order the Legacy Polar Express Burke, then that's the end of it. I'm never getting a Legacy Burke. They're going to release the Legacy Burke when it's the Polar Express anniversary. It's on eBay. RJ, Lionel bought MTH tooling. Were you aware? Yes, I am aware. I actually ordered 2 of the former MTH tooling sea liners. The Long Island one that was cataloged, as well as a custom run from Train World in the Long Island Railroad Tichy scheme. And yes, it's sorry, Sid's distracting me with the RF&P Burke. But I ordered those 2 sea liners as well as the one of the flat cars with the fire trucks on it. That fire truck is a former MTH tooling, so I've got those 2 things on order. So paying $75 for a die-cast fire truck that was a former MTH tooling that I could pick up at my local hobby store for $20. But that's the world we're living in nowadays. $75 for a fire truck that I could get at CVS for $5. Anyways, yes, it is. Polar Express is the best Christmas movie of all time. Oh, Legacy Lackawanna 466T. Those engines are amazing. I'd love to have a New York Central one of those in my collection one day. Maybe I'd look for one of those at York. Get 2 of them. I'm not made of money. As much as it might look like in my videos I am certainly not made of money. RF&P Burke. Run the trains like Casey Jones. So destroy them. One, I'm not at the layout, so I can't run any trains right now. And second, no. Yes, RF&P. For those of you who don't know, the RF&P is the Richmond, Frederick, and Potomac Railway, which ran between Richmond and Washington, D.C. It's my local full and flag railroad. I usually rail fan on the old RF&P main line in Alexandria, Virginia, Long Bridge Park, which is where most of my rail fanning videos are filmed. That fire truck, and at least I got a BN SD45 out of it. Yeah, and you also got a Standard O box car in that set too. Does anyone know if MTH is releasing any more scale steam locomotives? I believe that they just announced some Pacifics, I want to say 2 months ago. And then they announced another one, which is like a kind of a new tooling with a superheater on the front. I've heard some rumblings that there are going to be some more scale steam offerings next year, but I'm just a 21-year-old kid who makes trains videos on YouTube. So what do I know? Um, but universally, what I'm hearing is that the boards for steam locomotives specifically, MTH can't get them. So it's hard to produce engines when you can't get the materials to actually have them operational. Sam Strasbourg Railroad. What's my cheapest locomotive? That's a good question. I don't show them off on my channel, but I have a bunch of the ready to run starter set, like 442s and the 080s from Lionel. I would classify those as my cheapest locomotives, but locomotives that I still run that I paid the smallest amounts for. I have a Rail King Rugged Rail Santa Fe F3. I paid probably, I think it was like $180 for that, uh, and an MTH MLB Rail King switcher that I paid about $200 for. A few RFMP perks ran up my way. Nobody cares about the North Shore, Burnsy. There hasn't been NTH steam in a while. It's been diesel. It's been the diesel because the diesel engines are easier to make. They're cheaper for MTH to make, and a lot of those toolings are stupid easy for them to print anything on. Who's excited for the Lionel Hobo cars? I am. That's another one of the things I have on pre-order. I went with a custom run of the Hobo box cars in the New York Central from Mr. Muffin's Trains. I wasn't a huge fan of I want to say it was the Erie and the Rock Island that they put in the catalog, so I was really thankful that Mr. Muffin's did it in the New York Central. Get the Blue Comet MPC era. Oh boy. Uh, um, I have an inside joke with some of my friends that in the MPC era, Lionel Blue Comet, this is a controversial statement, I think is one of the worst looking locomotives of all time. I get how they were trying to replicate the pre-war version where the wheels were darker blue and the boiler was a lighter blue, but I just don't think that transferred well onto the MPC steam locomotive. So forgive me, but don't not really a fan of the NPC Blue Comet. I think yeah, Matt's trains. Mr. Muffin announced a custom run of New York Central Hobo cars. Um, but I think that I probably should have went with the Erie because I need a more variety of road names. But what do you know? I ended up going with New York Central, which I think I'll get more enjoyment out of in the long run. What's my oldest Lionel engine? I have a what's it? It's an NW2 Seaboard switcher from 1947, and I have a 2024 from 1949, I believe. So those are my two oldest. I have mixed opinion. So right now I only have I have one that you guys know about, the Railkin K4, and I like that one. Thank you, Bernsey. See, I don't even know my own collection. It's 2025. I thought it was a 2025. Uh, I've been trying to find the NPC era of Crescent Limited. I have a couple of the passenger cars from the Crescent Limited, and then I ended up going with the Scale Crescent Limited. Those are nice cars. I have the Observation and the Diner from that set. RPP is the NPC master. I know, because it's the K4, Bernsey. All right, so now that the chat has died down a little, we're going to move on to the next new engine. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you've seen this one before. This is an MTH Proto Sound 2 Southern SD35. Now, MTH actually just re-released these, but I was able to find a used Proto Sound 2 version 1 um, at a train store in Maryland for a pretty decent price, and it has a BDR already installed in it, so that saved me some money and work. Beautiful. My favorite is the front with the bell and the Southern logo. Um, is that a passenger car on the bed? Yes, it is. I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'll show you in just a second again. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful engine. It's got a great horn and sound set. It's late PS2s, 2008, and great engine. I've been looking for like a 1970s era Southern diesel, or just a 1970s era diesel for quite some time now, and I really wanted a Southern high hood. I was trying to find one that's at the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum in Chattanooga, but they are almost impossible to come by. So as I came across that one for a really good price, more than $100 less than what the new Proto Sound 3 ones are selling for. So real great. And one other cool thing about that engine is that Sid got so jealous hearing the sound set, he also went out and bought an MTH Premier diesel locomotive. So I guess Sid can blame me for that purchase. Southern Railroad is very underrated. I have to agree. Okay, so real quick for those of you who missed it, this is an MTH Premier Southern 70-foot rib-sided passenger car. And for those of you who follow me on Instagram, you can check out my story, and I'll post pictures of it in the coming days when it's all completed. But I got a Weaver Tennessean. Sid's currently upgrading it to Proto Sounds 3. I'm not going to go over it again for all those guys who already sat and listened to me talk about it. But yeah, Weaver Tennessean, 5 Southern passenger cars, going to be a great train. So that's not the passenger car I have on the layout. The Southern Streamlined passenger car that I have on the layout is a 60-foot Rail King Streamlined passenger car, and that came from the MTH warehouse clearance auctions. These are Premier, so they're scale. But yeah, so the Rail King one won't run with my Premier ones, but that Rail King passenger car is what I'm using as the one that's in Georgia. Are you going to make a full video on the Tennessean cars? Yes, yes, I do plan on making one, and it's probably going to come at a special guest layout. That video is most likely going to be filmed at Sid's layout, and just because I really want to get that video out to you guys. I also plan on taking it to the York Train Show with me when I meet up with some buddies, and I know that they're going to post videos of it. And I want the first videos of my gorgeous Tennessean to be up on my channel and not theirs. So Sid's going to have to entertain me for a couple hours one day so I can film that video. Hey, Greg, thanks for stopping in today. Can I sing? Only in the shower. Sing Great Big Rollin' Railroad. One of my favorites, but that's still a hard no. uh, all right. I'm trying to hold off on the big item until a little bit later. I figured we'd go until around 9 because nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour. I don't want to hear myself talk for an hour. So call it wraps around 9. But just a couple of other things that I've picked up. I recently did a video unboxing some Menard stuff. If you haven't seen that one, I would check that out. Some great birthday presents from my wonderful girlfriend, Nicole, which included a Menards water tower, some O-scale deer, and some CSX containers. Really nice stuff. I've gotten 2 more Lionel milk cars, and various road names, as well as the 5 New York Central milk cars from the Century Limited, whatever the heck it's called, Lionel set that came with the Niagara, the 5 milk cars, and the caboose. The caboose is going to my good friend Maddie C. Trains, and the Niagara didn't come in the set, so I don't have a New York Central Niagara. So that's 7 new milk cars, and I think that's it. Nothing else. Oh, and the um, thanks to Bob's OGH Trains, if he's still here, for hooking me up with a track cleaning car. So that's going to be great. I no longer have to climb onto my layout to clean the track, which is quite difficult, especially with me having bad knees. So that's going to be exciting to run around the layout for sure. And 300 more passengers to put in my passenger cars. 2 or 3 beers and RJ sings. That's what it takes to pay. That's my price to sing. 2 or 3 beers. Can I please do it earlier? I'll do it in a couple minutes. You're a Strasbourg person. What water tower do you recommend that's similar to the one there? I model Strasbourg in O gauge. Honestly, the one at Strasbourg looks like a coffee tin painted red with some stanchions on it. But if I'm recommending one that's pre-built and doesn't look like it's made by a kindergartner, I would recommend the Menards one. I would get up and show you mine, but I don't want to get off camera here for a couple of minutes to dig it out in my closet. But I did a video on it with some nice close-ups, and that video is up on my channel. It's 2 or 3 videos ago. If you go to Menards' website, you can look at it there. And yeah, it's a really nice water tower. And what's especially nice about it is that it's like $35. The only other options for O-scale water towers out there are plastic kits from Lionel's that cost just as much and they're unpainted, or ones with sounds from Broadway Limited or MTH that cost upwards of $150, $200. And the Menards one is just perfectly fine. Table climbing is no fun, and I have some track injuries from high school, so being on my knees, especially leaning against Lionel Fast Track, is not the most comfortable experience in the world. I need to get the Piggly Wiggly still. Yeah, that's a great building. Definitely get the Piggly Wiggly. A couple of other Menards buildings I want to get are the Starbucks and the Taco Bell. Those are funny buildings. I hope to get those one day. I just keep putting it off. Yeah, the Strasbourg water tower is just a red cylinder on stilts. That's why I said it. It looks like a coffee can painted red. That's what I would recommend. In person, and it's really nice. You can like see into the building from the roof. Um, See, I'm not actually a fan of Taco Bell, but it's nice that they have like a modern building. I'd love for an O scale Chick Fil A though. You make an O scale Chick Fil A, and I'd buy those in a heartbeat. Which who knows? Maybe Mark from Menards has some connections. Heck, even MTH made some Chick Fil A O scale trains back in the day. What is one item RJ would love to have right now? Definitely a Long Island Railroad G5. And thanks for the segue, Burnsy, because I'm sure there are people really anticipating this right now. So here it is. It is a Long Island Railroad G5. The most I've wanted this locomotive for many, many years. The last time MTH did them, I was I was a child and could not afford them. Before I talk about this any further, huge thanks goes out to Bob's O-Gauge Trains for helping this make its way into my collection. Go check out his channel. Go subscribe to it right now. I won't be offended if you click off of my video. Um, but yeah, so this came from Nicholas Smith's Trains. And the funny story about this thing is that they had it sitting in their warehouse for 5 years. They didn't have it out in the store. They didn't have it listed on their website. And one day they listed it on their website, and it's brand new. It has virtually no miles on it. And this thing is gorgeous. You've got pinstriping on the wheels, a nice cab with the pinstripes. There's the cab for you, the top, and there's your boiler front. This thing is just gorgeous with all the extra pinstriping on it. And we'll go back to the tender real quick. And so here's the tender with the Sunrise Special logo on it. And so for those of you who don't know, the Sunrise Special was a passenger train that the Long Island Railroad ran from the early 20s until World War II. It was an express train from New York City out to Montauk that actually ran through my hometown. And the Long Island Railroad painted a tender specifically for that train. It actually had through cars from Washington, D.C. and Pittsburgh on it. So theoretically, I could have taken that train from Washington, D.C. all the way back to Long Island back in the day. And it's just an awesome piece. And I mean, a G5 to a Long Island Railroad collector is the equivalent. All right, that works. Can you guys hear me okay? I think I should be back. I don't know what happened there. My phone just disconnected for a second. Okay, I'm good now. Really sorry about that. We're back. We're back. So the point that I was making was the G5 to a Long Island collector is the equivalent to a Hudson to a New York Central collector. You got to have it. The only problem is that the G5s aren't like the Hudson, where they're an iconic steam locomotive known across the world. The G5s were owned by the Pennsy and their subsidiaries, which included the Pennsylvania, Reading, and Seashore lines. And the Pennsy only had about 100 of them, and 30 of them were all on Long Island. So they've only been made a handful of times. Like I said, the last one of them were done in 2016. And when they come up for eBay, they're not cheap. And you never know what kind of condition they're in. And it's honestly just amazing that I finally have one in my collection. As for now, I'm just going to be running it with my Rail King Long Island passenger cars. I'm looking at some Premier Long Island passenger cars that would better match it. But for right now, the Rail King ones are perfectly fine. Yeah, match trains, right place, right time is right. I search eBay and a bunch of the hobby stores almost every single day to see what Long Island pops up, and I was in shock when I saw the G5 pop up on the. It was a joke. I thought it was just a missed listing, and they didn't actually have it in stock, but by some miracle they did. I can't. So the Long Island Railroad, I potentially I could, but the wooden coaches for the G5, it ran with the Tuscan Long Island heavyweight passenger cars. So that's what I'm going to be looking for using with it. Mario's has a Long Island 442 Atlantic Long Island passenger set, which maybe I get, maybe I won't. Depends on how York goes. And that would be a nice set to pair with the G5. Hey, Rail Chief 74, thanks for stopping in. Next runs of G5s, yes, Burnsy, you do have to snatch one up. And if or when there is another run of the G5s, I definitely am picking up some more Long Island ones, anyone that has Long Island written on the side. And maybe some Pensy ones if it turns out that they were on the island for any amount of time. Hi, Lance Boyles, and J1E said is another engine I need. Hey, DJ, you just missed it. I'll hold it up one more time for you, DJ, because I know you'll appreciate this. Here is my G5. One more look for everybody. Just a beautiful, beautiful locomotive. It's my first premier MTH steam locomotive, and I couldn't be any more excited. Do I have any New York, Ontario, and Western things? No, I do not. Surprisingly, I don't have one of everything. Highly recommend getting a Lionel 681 turbine. They are super reliable and they look pretty good too. I really like Lionel post-war stuff, but I don't really. I have the two engines I wanted. The three engines I've wanted from Lionel post-war are just a regular steam locomotive, which I have, the 2025, the Seaboard switcher, which I have, and then the Lionel Santa Fe F3s with the matching passenger cars, which one day I'll get. Um, but I don't really have much room anymore to store a lot of these trains, and I like post-war, but I think I'm pretty much done collecting it. Like I said, I'd like the Santa Fe passenger set. I want to get some post-war passenger cars, but I have enough freight cars. I think I'm good. Oh, and I also have a Virginia post-war rectifier. Yeah, one day. I it, I mean, my dream setup would be one day to have like an O scale layout, and then to the side have like a dealer display post-war layout, and have a couple loops with tubular track and some post-war accessories. That would be cool. And I have my layout wired up now where I can run the post-war stuff on the train layout. But and I you can check my channel. I've done running sessions of nothing but post-war on my layout. But yes, well, Steve's the inspiration behind that, and Corey from Arch Trains, he also has like a 4x6 O scale post-war layout that I really like. Um, but yeah, um, I can run my post-war trains now, but I don't do that often. They're gonna look really nice sitting on a shelf one day, which kind of sounds bad. Like I run them, they run great, but I consider post-war more collector's pieces. How does that painting look? The painting is fantastic. I'm in DC, and it's home on Long Island. I'm going back soon, so I'll check it out in person soon, Rail Chief. And don't worry, it's going to have a spot of honor in the train room. All right, I'll take a couple of more questions, and then we'll call it a night. I've got some stuff I need to do later after this, so take a couple more questions, or if you guys don't have any more questions, then we'll call it a night. All right, Roman's West Coast train. Serious question because I'm still getting back into the hobby. What is it about post-war trains that attracts people to them? I'm sure everybody in the comments has a different answer for them. But for me personally, I grew up watching the I Love Toy Train series by TM Books, and about half of the trains they showed in that were the Lionel post-war trains, and that's how I fell in love with them. Um, not much to become an all-out collector on them, but they're so simple. They have bright paint schemes. They're very simple. That's why I like them. UP 3982. When are you going back to the layout? Um, like I said a couple times, I'm going back home soon for a long weekend. I'll be home for a couple weeks around Thanksgiving, and I'll be home for a month around Christmas. So we will do some live streams then of me actually running trains around the layout, and you'll get some better videos from me. Bob's Ogish trains, there are probably 5 or 6 brands of tracks. Which of them do you like and why? Well, I use Lionel Fast Track on my layout. That's just because I had a huge supply of it from getting a lot of Lionel ready to run sets over the years. But personally, my favorite O-scale track system is Atlas O track. Um, I think that the ties on guardrails is a little too big. Scale tracks is impossible to find. Real tracks looks terrible. I don't like the black road bed. Um, K-Line Snaptrack. Ross is too expensive. Atlas is going to be used for my next layout. I want to start stocking up a surplus of them for when the next layout finally comes. RJ, that Long Island snowplow you got is sick. I love it. The shark face reminds me of the World War II planes. Yeah, that's exactly what they were going for. And it's just funny that it was just a bunch of employees doing it on their spare time, and the railroad ended up getting mad at them for it. And I think they ended up painting another snowplow up in that shark face because it became so iconic. How do I plan on running the Acela when I receive it? Um, Luckily, really good friend of mine, Stephen Colfrell, he's pretty close to me. He lives pretty close to me. And he has 072 curves on his layout, so I can take it there and run it. Some good friends of mine, Matty C. Trains and Stephen Colfrell, and Nassau Lionel Greg, they're members of the Nassau Lionel Operating Engineers Club, which is on Long Island. And they have a huge 80-foot long layout, and they said I could take it there and run the Acela there. So I can run it there on those huge straightaways. The plan is, of course, one day to have a huge layout where I can actually run my 14-foot long Acela. No T1, unless we're talking about the Lionel Vision Line 1, which hopefully they release in January. And if that's the case, I want a Penn Central Pennsylvania Railroad T1. They got mad at it. Oh, I'm probably buffering again. Or not. The Long Island Railroad got mad at the employees for painting it because it wasn't standard MTA color schemes. I've actually gotten an SW 1500 on pre-order from MTH of an employee special unit, which was painted up in a bicentennial color scheme, and it wore that paint scheme for 10 years, and there's 3 pictures of it online because it sat in the yard for 10 years being a yard switcher because they wouldn't let it out because it wasn't in the blue and yellow. Why not a loop of 072 at your apartment? Um, One, because I'd have to take a lot of stuff from my layout now, like the power and really DCS setup from my layout now to bring it down here. Um, Also, it costs money to buy the track, which I don't want to spend money on right now. Um, and I try to keep the amount of train things in my apartment now to a minimum. I think the Tennessean and the Southern passenger cars might become the first permanent residents of Washington, D.C. in my collection. Eventually, the G5 is coming back with me to film a video, but it's coming back down to D.C. to bring to New York. The Southern ST35 is going back to New York and staying there. So, uh, yes, I want a Penn Central T1. When I build a layout to use Atlas Track, hopefully it'll be easier in the future. Get the American Freedom Train T1. I would. That's a really nice engine. I'd also really like the Vision Line GS 4449 American Freedom Train. But I watched the American Freedom Train, the GS4 at least, when it said Amtrak on the tender, because I think that's hilarious. There's your Amtrak steam locomotive. But I've seen the T1 American Freedom Train up in Baltimore a few times. That'd be a cool one to get, but then I also have to get all the matching passenger cars to go with it, and now I'm in even more debt. Penn Central One Stripe T1, like the GG1. Nah, bright green Penn Central T1 would be Andy. I'm glad you and I are on the same wavelength here. Yeah, and that's another point. I have Sid's layout. Sid's 15 minutes from me here in DC, so I can always head out to his layout and rent some trains if I wanted to. Yeah, bright green Penn Central boxcar looking T1 with a PC on the tender. I would buy one. If Lionel is listening to me, I would buy it. May the gods of Dave Kunkel, what was it? Ryan Kunkel and Dave Olson, if you're listening to me, a Penn Central T1, please. American Freedom T1 and the Chassis Steam Special 2101 are the same engine. Penn Central 440. Yep, just like UP 119. Give me one of those, or a Penn Central B6 steam switcher. I think that'd be cool. I mean, Lionel did the they did the Vision Line GS4 4 in the chassis colors. They did the T1 in Conrail colors. You can give me a Penn Central steam locomotive. It's gonna sell. Oh, Sid, you're telling me to use your American Freedom Train cars and buy the Legacy T1. Okay, all right. I'll let you know when I buy that in Never, and I'll use your cars, Sid. All right. If there aren't any more questions, I think I'm going to call it a night. It would be hilarious if they did a European steam locomotive and a Penn Central paint scheme. Give it to me. I would do any Penn Central steam locomotive. Okay. Oh. I have a one of a kind GS4 that'd kill Bob because it's not PS2 anymore. Did MTH ever make Italian European engines? No, they didn't. Unfortunately, they made English, French, and German, and Austrian, and Switzerland. Marked made a steam locomotive, the Penn Central tender. Yeah, that 040. Now I want a legacy whistle steam, the whole 9 yards. Penn Central. If I want a Penn Central locomotive, it's gonna be nice. I'm trying to speak it into existence. I'm going to ask Ryan Kunkel or Dave Olson or whoever the heck's at York for a Penn Central steam locomotive, because listen, we've got a Vision Line UP Challenger that looks like a hot dog. They can make a Penn Central steam locomotive, and if they don't get enough orders, then they don't make it. But at least give me the option. I need it. Do you think Lionel should make the Deutsche Bahn ice train? It'd be cool, but nobody would buy it. All right. Have a good night, UP 3982. New Jersey Transit T1. I like the way you're thinking. We're really, really getting there. Why Penn Central? It's the biggest railroad merger failure of all time. It's destroyed two of the greatest railroads of all time. I actually did a video on this, so go check it out. And if you watch the video, you learn that it was the Pennsylvania Railroad that ruined the Penn Central. It wasn't the two railroads that failed. It was the U.S. government and the Pennsylvania Railroad, the New York Central. did everything right. But I really like the Penn Central because it's such an oddity in American railroading history, um, and it just has a really unique history. Even though it was only around for 8 years, it really made its impacts on the history of American railroading. Um, so yeah, I love the Penn Central. How about a Dreyfus T1? I don't know what that means. I want a Dreyfus Hudson so bad. Yeah, I hope that Lionel bought that tooling from MTH. I'd love a legacy Empire State Express. Man, PRR and the government turned on the New York Central and destroyed it. Yep, it's very sad story. A Dreyfus scheme T1. Oh boy, um, that hurts me as a New York Central fan and as a closeted Pennsylvania Railroad fan. So that's gonna be a no. I'm glad I converted you, Romans trains. Think Lionel should do some more European steam locomotives. They've made one of the BR50. Trainman Dan, I saw your BR50 at Jason's layout. I need one of those now. I'm looking at maybe some other like locomotives, but I love that BR50. BNSF T1. Now we're just getting crazy. No, I would only buy a Penn Central T1. I wouldn't even buy a PRR T1. Only a Penn Central T1. All right, guys. So I think I am going to wrap it up for the night. Thank you, everybody, for joining me here. It was great chatting with you guys. And certainly in the coming months, I'm going to be doing a live stream from my layout where you guys can pick and choose what locomotives run. That'll be a fun time. But I just wanted to do this Q&A here tonight, thanking you for 3,000 subscribers. I hit 1,000 in November of 2020, and to think 10 months later, I'm here at 3,000. It's truly a blessing. Let's keep the channel going. Next stop, 4,000. And it wouldn't have been possible without all of you guys here tonight. And for some reason, if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button down, share it with your friends. Let's get to the next goal of 4,000. We've got some big stuff coming up for the channel. Some big videos, as you saw behind me, are coming. And I'm looking really forward to it. And Sam, I am not singing. Maybe I'll post something, and if we hit a goal, I'll sing for you guys, but not tonight. But for now, guys, take care and stay safe and keep on railroading.